evening, everybody, and welcome back to Alma, Missouri. It is July, and our corn is definitely knee-high, so we're definitely going to have ourselves a good harvest. In fact, let's go over there and check out our corn. That corn is far, far higher than knee-high by July, so we are in a good shape. What's interesting is that we clearly have what looks like weeds growing in here, but when you look down on the info screen, it says it doesn't say it needs weeded. And when you look at the F1 screen, when you look at the well, not F1, but the PDA, the POTA doesn't show weeds. So okay, all right, we're fine. We'll just go with it. We just got our wheat harvest rocking and rolling. I want to tell you, I got 168 bales of hay off of our grass fields. I kept 48 of them and sold the absolute rest. That's how we now have $119,000 in the bank. I feel like a rich farmer, but I gotta hold on to it because you never know what might break down or bust. We got something interesting there in the deals, so we're just gonna go on with that. We were talking a little bit about before the show, before the roll of the intro, the UK Farm Show. The acronym I am completely blanking on right now. But the UK Farm Show. Giants was at yesterday and today. 2-day farm show. I think we had Virtual Farmer was there. I hear DJ Goham was there. I hear Farmer Comp was there. I don't know if any other UK-based creators was able to come out. I don't know if Mr. Sealy P was able to show up or anybody else. But I was just kind of curious if we had any UK viewers that could comment on if they went to the show or not. Oh, Walter doesn't have any way of downloading the Pumps and Hoses update. Is that on console? Are you on console? I can tell you, I use the Giants delivered version of the game for PC, and when I launch the game, it just prompts and says, "Do you want to update Pumps and Hoses in the game?" And it does. I don't know about Steam version or any of that. I don't know if you can download it. Or maybe you have to go to the Giants eShop to get it. So FSG was there, Sealy P was there, Average Viking. Oh, that's good. It's great to hear. Maybe one day, we'll be able to have Giants come out to our American farm show. But until then, I will tell you that I will be at the National Farm Machine Show in Louisville, Kentucky. The show runs from February 14th to February 17th. I will be there for the entirety of the show. I'll be walking the floor. I'll be looking around. I would love to meet up with anyone that is going to be there. We can hang out one day, walking the floor. You might even be able to cameo in one of my daily videos. Last year I put out 4 daily videos of the show and then put out a super edit of all 4 days upscaled to 4K. If you wanted to watch them all together, I want to try to do a similar but slightly different format this year. We're not only looking at the floor show videos of the machinery and the major booths, but hopefully I'd like to do some interviews of some of these folks at the booths. And you know what? If I happen to be able to interview some gamers there, some farm sim gamers, right? Ask you questions about what do you think of the show? What do you think about the size of machinery as compared to in-game, right? I think this stuff is just so much more massive than in-game you think about. But if you think about it, right? Let's say your player is 6 foot tall, right? So that tire's over 6 feet, right? That helps give you a little bit more scale to things. But until you see some of this stuff up close and in person, you don't get a good sense of it. Tookie's a pro gamer. He got paid 50 cents once to play a game of solitaire. So he is officially a pro gamer. He's not amateur anymore. 29 months. 29 months. Thank you for being your farm boss. He just likes to boss people around. That's for sure. Twitch laid off 500 people just last week, huh? Well, you know, I think Amazon wants them to turn a profit. And one of the reasons I don't like Twitch is I don't feel like I can connect to people on Twitch because I don't understand the terminology. It's like they got their own language, and it feels too much like I'm an outsider coming into a whole bunch of people that know, you know, secret phrases and terms, and I just like, oh, I'll just sit over here in the corner because I don't know what you're all talking about. I don't know what all this junk is flying up on the screen. I've got to sit through a 3-minute ad before I can see anything with no chance of skipping it. And as I was saying, Twitch I feel is very transactional. At least that's what I'm going to call it. I feel the internet as a whole is becoming too transactional. Remember back in the day when you could go to a forum website and you could plug in a question in the search and you might get a post. You might get a forum post that's 5 years old, has 30 pages connected to it. But in that 30 pages, darn it, your question is answered. Forums are gone. They're moving to transactional things. I can't stand Reddit. I can't find anything on Reddit that's useful. If I search for something on Google and I get a Reddit link, it's 99.9% guaranteed. All I'm getting linked to is someone who's asking the exact same question I am with no answers. It's too transactional. People are being driven to Discord to get information. Discord is way too transactional. It's just too fly by night. It's here today. The information might be gone tomorrow. So I'm turning to the old man that just doesn't know how to use the internet. Times are tough. Let's talk about some updates. Farm Sim got an update today for PC, at least, to 1.13.1.1. Pumps and Hoses got an update to version 1.3.1. And the Emergency Pack got an update to 1.0.1.0. So, 10.10. That's right, Richard. Dang you, Cloud. I remember when I could actually find something on the internet. And I could bookmark that and come back to it a week later, or 2 months later, or a year later, and it's still there. Can't do that anymore. Because wherever you're putting it, one, the site might not be there anymore, or two, you'd be like, oh, we cleared out that information. All right, let's talk about these updates once this harvester fills up. Yeah, we'll start with the game update first. I'm going to pull up the changelog once I get this trailer positioned where it needs to be. But the bulk of the farm sim updates today relate to graphic option improvements, mostly related to AMD FSR and Intel's XESS scaling technologies. So not really a lot of bug fixes going on, just some graphical technologies being added to the game. So let's pull this up and let's zoom in just so it's easier for peeps to read. All right, changelog for 1.13.1.1 updated AMD's FSR to version 3.0 for Windows, updated Intel XESS to 1.2 for Windows, updated internet radio streams to support HTTPS protocol, Windows, so that's secure HTTP, fixed game becoming unresponsive near certain buildings from pumps and hoses. I think I ran across that, but I think it just became a bit laggy, frame rate laggy when I was around some buildings. Multiple improvements to Giant's auto updater interface and behavior. This is going to be Windows only, and specifically probably the Giant's download version. Added AMD FSR 3.0 frame gen, Windows only. And there's a known issue. If you are like me, or content creator, or someone who is capturing your game with OBS, enabling AMD FSR 3 or restarting the game while a third-party overlay is active may cause the game to crash, such as using OBS game capture. Instead, they suggest using display capture instead. All right, well, what's all this FSR talk, right? Maybe you don't know what FSR is. So, the Giants blog post, AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution, that's FSR, uses upscaling technologies to increase the frame rate. So basically, Farm Sim, just like lots of these other technologies, DLSS, FSR, the Intel XESS, they all do basically the same thing. They render the game at a lower resolution and then upscale it using this technology to the resolution that you have your game set at. So if you're running, for example, I play at 1440p, maybe you play at 4K. But you don't get the best frames at 4K, but you want to use 4K on your monitor. You can use FSR, DLSS, XESS to render the game at, let's say, 1080p. And then this technology will upscale it to 4K, and basically it's easier for your graphics card to do that. AMD FSR 3 introduces frame generation. So you may or may not be up to speed with respect to the NVIDIA 40 series cards introduced frame generation, and that's why you might see in various benchmarks 4000 series cards putting out a lot more frames than 3000 series cards if they've got frame gen turned on. AMD FSR 3 adds frame gen to FSR 2, so it's AMD's answer to what NVIDIA is doing. It basically inserts a AI rendered frame between two real frames, basically helping you get, in theory, smoother gameplay. You would want to turn this on if you're not able to reach 60 FPS, in my opinion. If you're pumping out a constant 60 FPS, turning frame gen on isn't going to do anything. Or at least it's not going to do anything useful to you. Other than maybe making your graphics card run a little bit less higher utilization, but still, you're getting that constant 60 frames anyway. So the other good thing about this is FSR is going to work across AMD and NVIDIA cards. whereas NVIDIA's FrameGen stuff only works on their 40 series. So if you are able to fully run FarmSim without having to worry about frame counts, meaning you're running better than 60 already, or a steady 60, then you really don't have to worry about it. You're going to turn those technologies on in the main graphic options menu, in the main menu. So if you're running, like I'm running a 3080, I'm good. I'm good. I get pretty much a good steady 60. If I unlock my frames, only because I'm streaming, am I getting 100 to 90. If I wasn't streaming, it's well over 120, right? But if you've got a 20 series card, if you've got a 10 series card, if you've got an NVIDIA 16 series card, then if you are struggling with keeping steady 60 frames, then FrameGen might help you out. Again, it uses some AI technology to basically render a AI rendered frame between two real frames. In essence, almost not technically doubling your frames, but it definitely boosts it up. It can make it a lot smoother. PW Flu, thank you. Thank you for that, sir. Thank you. It's definitely a good update for folks who are running the lower end cards, who may be struggling already with graphical settings. They can turn those features on and run maybe at a little higher graphic settings. There we go. Presto. Presto. Let's talk about pumps and hoses and the emergency pack. I've got that change log down here. I looked on the Giants website. It was not posted on the Giants website, but it was posted over on the Creative Mesh Discord, and that, quite honestly, that's where I came up with the mini rant about the transactional internet. They'll be adding, hopefully, this to the Giants website changelog shortly, as in tomorrow. So pumps and hoses, update to 1.3.1, fix trigger enter bug on fermenters, throwing errors, okay. Fix fermenter dynamic recipe updating. I think I ran into this update, this problem, and hopefully this fixes the problem I had. Because when I was using pumps and hoses, if I had all of my inputs like digestate, slurry, manure, silage, all of that, right? If I was running a all full recipeed BGA, if I ran out of slurry, like it would shut the whole system down. But there is a recipe that you could run where you didn't have slurry. And hopefully this fixed fermenter dynamic recipe updating is a fix for that. Fixed VBio Combi 2S 2D auger duplicate. No idea what that means. Fix some translations in Italian and English. Then the emergency pack. Those playing with the emergency pack. Looks like it's a console fix. And then added Czech. I guess that's Czechoslovakia. Czech translations. I think that's what that means. So those are the 3 updates that happened today with respect to the base game and the pumps and hoses DLC and the emergency pack update. You know what? I like toffee Chex Mix myself. cheddar Chex Mix is okay. But it gets old. It gets old a lot faster than coffee does. Gee, Candyman, what's up? How are you doing? Welcome to the show. Oh, I thought we are get her done. Let me get this thing positioned. I'll jump out of the game. I'll show you where these FSR settings are located. And y'all can kind of see my my graphical settings. You want to compare? I have published them before, but that was a little over a year ago. All right, we got to go about all the way to the main menu. So once we're in the main menu, we're going to go to settings, display settings. Then we've got to come down here to advanced display settings. And this is where we're going to find Fidelity Super Resolution 1, turn it on and off. FX Super Resolution 3, we can turn it on and off. And then we have Frame Gen, where we can turn that on and off. If we have an Intel card, we can turn that on and off. XESS here. If we have a NVIDIA card, we can turn DLSS on or off here. But again, DLSS, Fidelity FX, and XESS, depending on what type of cards you have. You don't need it if you can already run 60 frames per second at a native resolution. Don't turn it on if you can already run 60 FPS in whatever resolution you've got the game set at. You don't need it. If you're suffering at 60 FPS, then turn one of these on and see if it helps you out. That's where you go. Where you go to look. So we're running very high custom. But we use NVIDIA DLLA for our post-processing anti-aliasing. And then as far as everything else goes, I got sharpness set at 1, shadow quality high, shadow distance high, very high, SSAOO for shadows is set to a very high, light quality very high, draw distance 200, train distance 200, resolution scaling 100, 7 mirrors, texture filtering is at 4x, high shadow filtering, very high terrain quality, 200 foliage drawing distance, foliage shadows is on, mesh tessellation is 200. I really should turn that on. We'll turn that on. Texture resolution is high, max shadows is 5, very high shader quality, LED distance 200, shadow or cloud quality is high, max tire tracks is 400, and shading rate is set to high. That's what we run. That's what we run here on the channel. We play at 1440p. VSync is turned off. I do lock the frame rate at 60. That is how we stream at 60 frames per second. So I'll lock that at 60. You can, of course, if you want to, lock it at 90, 120, or 144, 240, or 30. And there we go. I also do play with the HUD scale set at 70. I think the main HUD is too large. So I like to shoot it down a little bit, knock her down to 70. Let's get back in game and get back to work. Get back to work, boy. What's up, Dan? A mini fun fair. Uh-oh, David's not working where he works anymore come tomorrow. New job, starting Monday. Diablo del Toro, what is up, sir? What is up? You know what? This video is brought to you by Evil Reg and Greg Newsen. Thank you for being farm barons. And Diablo del Toro, 28 months. Farm Baron member. Thank you, sir. And don't worry about it. We'll be here. We'll be here when you can come back. You take care of yourself first. Yeah, Walter, it would be nice to be able to store those bales in a in the pallet storage, but you know what Giant's answer is going to be? It's a third-party DLC, right? Why should they update their in-game bale storage and pallet storage to work with a third-party pallet? If Creative Mesh wants you to be able to store those, then they should add their own storage. And that's going to be the answer, probably. Well, look at that, Will. Get him going early. I'll tell you what, though. Now that they have added AMD FF Fidelity FX 3, I am going to give it a try because I've got something cool coming. I'm a little bit of a tech nerd, if you didn't already figure it out. So I've got a pair of mini PCs coming. One of them is running a older gen all-in-one CPU with integrated graphics from the 5000 series. I think it's the low voltage equivalent of the gaming laptop CPU I gave to my son. It's 8-core, 16-thread. It's a 5700U CPU. It's got Ryzen graphics, so it's not using RDNA graphics. It's using Ryzen graphics. That'll hopefully be here next month. I think it was like $250. All I gotta do is add memory and a hard drive to it. And I'm gonna use it as kind of a home office PC. So if I do have the laptop, which is currently the home office PC, if I'm traveling and taking that, then the wife will have something that she can use. Something I ordered today is the next iteration of that mini PC, but it's a 7000 gen AMD CPU with RDNA 3 integrated graphics. So I can fire up FarmSim on both of those and see what type of results I get with the FX3. Oh, look, Will, you're paying it forward. I see how that goes. Yeah, it'll be great for Stream Deck for sure, or any of those other emerging popular gaming handhelds. The ROG Ally, MSI has their handheld coming up soon, called the Claw. It uses an Intel integrated chip with integrated ARC graphics. But I think if you're running a 1600 card, or if you're running a 2000 series card, and if you're on a map maybe that's having a little trouble with getting 60 frames, it might be worth trying out. Rabid Rob F. What happened to Rabid Rob A? How you doing, sir? Well, Genetic J, supposedly, right, we've got the 4070 Super just released. From what I understand, it replaces the 4070 Ti. I think there's a 4070 Ti Super that's coming out. That's going to be replacing, if I'm understanding right, the 4080. And then I think we have a 4080 Super that's coming out also. And that's if I'm remembering all of that correct from the CES coverage I watched. Apparently there might be some AMD cards coming out soon also. But the 4070 Super is, I think, being priced point same as the 4070 now, maybe. I don't know. It's still kind of expensive. But again, the Fidelity FX stuff might be able to extend your GPU life all that more until we do see something a bit more priced. I mean, I don't know if it was the 7800 XT or if it was the 6800 XT. One of those was faring pretty well compared to the 4070 Super benchmarks. And I think the AMD card was like $50 less. But you got Intel coming on too, competing at the I guess the lower mid-market. Right, they're trying to make, I think, a name for themselves in the market that that AMD and Nvidia are kind of abandoning. Drake, what is up, sir? How are you doing? How you doing this fine evening? I'm doing good. Doing good. I was saying earlier during the pre-show that we got weather coming in. Today was the first day my kid went back to school. They're so risk adverse around here. It's too cold. We can't have our children standing out in the cold. I say, well then, as parents, you should properly dress your children for the environment. I don't think I got to not go to school when I was growing up because it was too cold. I think it was like you need to put on your heavy jacket and then a light jacket underneath, because you got to stand out by the school bus, stand out the road for the school bus to come, or you know when that school bus is coming and you wait till the absolute last minute to walk out there. Dozer, if you got a 3060 Ti, honestly, I would wait. Unless you're super itching, or if you're playing some games that just just don't run well on the resolution you're running at, and you don't want to lower your graphics settings, I would just wait. Typically, you want to wait and upgrade every other cycle. So if you have a 30 series card, you want to maybe upgrade or consider upgrading it to 50 series card. I've got a 30 series card myself. Now I've got a 3080, so it's a bit more oomph to it than a 3060 Ti, but I have zero interest in any of the 4000 series cards. And honestly, depending on what comes out in the 5000 series, and depending on how well the game is playing, right? As long as I'm able to get good steady frames at a good visual resolution for you guys, I'm probably going to stick with it for a while. Because the costs are so high now, right? The cost is so high to try to upgrade with every cycle. I was watching a guy yesterday, and he had some really good advice. He said, you know, depending on one, what resolution are you playing at? Two, what's the refresh rate? What's the hertz rating of your monitor? And three, once you know those two things, then point three is, what can your current card do? Can your current card keep up with the hertz rate at your current monitor's resolution? So let's say you've got a 1080p monitor. That's pretty standard still. And let's say your monitor does 60 hertz. So that equals 60 frames per second, right? So we're doing basically 60 frames here. My monitor does 144 hertz. So I could get more frames, right? My monitor refreshes 144 times per second, if you will. But if you run a 60 hertz monitor, you're running 1080p, and your GPU right now is pumping out 50 to 60 frames per second at whatever resolution and graphics settings you run at, upgrading to a faster card isn't going to buy you much, because while the card might be pumping out 90 frames, your monitor is only showing you 2/3 of it. You're not seeing that 90 frames per second, you're seeing 60 hertz, because that's what your monitor will do. So I thought that was pretty interesting and good advice to kind of look at your system holistically. Where's your bottleneck? And if your current card can put the frames out that your monitor can display, then the bottleneck isn't your card. The bottleneck's your monitor. Or a combination of both. Now, what we get around here a lot is we get a lot of ice. Oftentimes, it is right on the fringe of 30, 32, 33, 34. Right, you know, within that range. You could have rain, you could have snow, you could have ice. You could have rain that falls and then freezes on the ground. You can have snow, but then under the snow, it melts. And then it refreezes, and you just don't know where your ice is. So while we might not have a lot of snow on the ground, it only takes 1/8 of an inch of ice to completely lose control of your vehicle. And, you know, when I say you're going on for the ride, you have zero control. There's no counter steering. There's nothing. Ice. It's you're going wherever you're going. And you hope to get some traction before you run into something. Dozer, really, until we know what the next farm sim's going to do, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Because we also have, like we had today, there's more and more technologies in place to assist your older GPUs. AMD Fidelity FX will work on just about any GPU out there, even NVIDIA GPUs. So, you know, if your system's struggling at all, maybe look and read up about that, maybe try to enable that. See what it looks like visually to you. That could get you a smoother gameplay without really sacrificing much visually. For me, I love playing on my 1440p monitors. Everything looks just so nice on it. Text looks so crisp. I've got 32-inch 1440p monitors. I've got a 32-inch 1080p monitor right behind me. That's my home office system. I very, very, very much know and can very, 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 very easily see the difference between those two displays. Text is not as clear on the 1080p monitor because at 32 inches, there's not more pixels. There's the same pixels. They're just bigger, right? So a 1080p 16-inch screen, a 1080p 27-inch screen, a 1080p 32-inch screen, or a 1080p 50-inch screen. It has the exact same number of pixels. They're just bigger on the bigger screens. And unless you're sitting far enough away, you can see those bigger pixels. So I don't know if there's like a formula for resolution to screen size. Like, when do you need to go from 1440p to 4K? But if I were to do it again, I would not buy that 1080p 32-inch monitor. I would buy a 1440 one. Oh, what's David doing? Oh, hopefully he didn't regret his decision. It's always risky. I always think it's risky starting a new job. Oh, that's 740 to play Fortnite. I've watched a video. I didn't realize Fortnite is pretty CPU intensive. Well, those are some of those is like memory, like textures are gonna use more memory. Like there was some games that came out last year in 2023, did not like 8 gig graphics cards. Because those graphics cards at 8 gig, they were swapping memory out, or textures in and out of memory, and would lead to some pretty stuttery gameplay. But I don't know too much about the new Arc. Oh, look, I got this, so I should use it. Sipper, what is up? How is it up there? How's the weather? Will, why do you sit so far away from a gaming monitor? I if I take in a seated position, if I extend my arm, my monitor is one arm length away from my face. I don't have a tablet, Christian. Each arm is 3 foot long. That's pretty. You're pretty gangly. I don't know. I don't think Will's that tall. Maybe you are. Sometimes it's fun meeting people you've never met, and you just kind of have a general idea of what they look like, and then you're like, oh, you don't look anything like I thought you did. Like you have no frame of reference. But you know what? It doesn't keep us from making ideas up in our head. He's what's that, Gumby? Yeah, he's Will's Gumby. Who remembers Gumby? That's how old you are. Urban Farmer, what's up? I'm 6 feet tall in my dreams. Tuki, talking about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be Wreckfest over at the Funhouse channel. Explanation FK's Funhouse. In order to get a link to that channel, we're going to be streaming Wreckfest once again. If you have Wreckfest and you want to join in on the fun, all you gotta do is be a member of the Discord. We've got a Wreckfest channel, and we'll be in that tomorrow night. We've got a Wreckfest server set up over at GPortal. If you're looking for a gaming server explanation point GPortal, we'll get you a good referral link. Save you some money off your servers. In fact, they're setting up a new game. I got some information about a new game. I didn't know anything about it. Let's see here. There's a game called Pal World. P-A-L-W-O-R-D. That is coming out tomorrow. GPortal will have servers for Pal World. That looks like a game you're interested in. Well, give a GPortal a try with respect to maybe setting up a server. Oh, I don't know. You might be too sick from your booster to stream tomorrow. Fourth or fifth? Aren't you not supposed to have that many? I mean, that's a lot of jungle juice to be squirting up in your veins. Yeah, cough's rough, hard to get rid of. I don't know. I had to get one because it was forced for work. And I can tell you what, I haven't been that bad. I haven't felt that bad. I haven't felt that sick in years. We know for a fact that COVID was through our house in November or December of 2019. You know, before it was in the States. And in fact, the wife was just utterly sick for weeks. She had an undiagnosed upper respiratory problem. Undiagnosed because they didn't know what to look for or what name to call it yet. I had it back then. The shot made me feel worse than that. I would never get a flu shot. I would never get another one of those shots. I've never felt as bad than taking any sort of preventative shot. Oh, it's hard to believe we're almost done. Then we'll get the pleasure of baling this all up. And I'm gonna go ahead and sell all this. I'll sell all the straw because I don't need it. I don't need any of these. Then I guess we'll advance to August. Let's see, when's our corn ready? Corn will be ready all the way in October. So September we'll be able to turn wheat back around and plant it again. Yeah, we had a period in November, December, one of those two, where the city schools were just having a horrible time. Like half of the kids were out, and then they would get better and the other half of the kids would get out, and then the other half would get sick again. And it was like, look, just like shut the school down and disinfect the place. Like bleach bomb the entire place or something. And again, that was the end of 2019. So we felt that the schools, it had run through the schools, and therefore it had run through all the families at that point. The wife got a call over the summer of 2020 after she had some blood tests done and some blood work done. Be like, hey, you've got COVID antibodies. Do you want to be on the donor list? And she's like, you wouldn't take my blood because of the other issues I've got, but that only validated that she had it back in 2019 before it was in the States, right? Not as much wheat tonight. Not as much wheat. Oh, genetic, you know, I get these little coughs. They just come on. It's like when you get a cough, it's like it just sticks around forever. Doesn't want to go away. We should check the contracts to see if we have any good paying contracts. Let's look. There weren't any good paying contracts earlier. Nope, nope, nope. Easel, nope, nope, we can't do. No, are you serious? You want me to deliver 146,000 liters of silage and you're only going to pay me 27,000? How many bales is that? I don't know. I don't feel that's worth it. Copper stair railings and doorknobs. Should you just take a penny? Maybe you should take a penny and just, you know, swirl it around your mouth every so often. Oh, I know, right? M9. Heck no. They have those flu shot clinics at work. It's like absolutely not. Okay, that is it. Well, the CDC also makes everything up. They've all but admitted they didn't have a diddly squat clue what they were talking about. When you cough or sneeze, you cover your mouth with your hand. Then you have those on your hand, and then you go and touch a doorknob. Well, now it's on the doorknob. And then someone comes in behind you and touches the doorknob, and now it's on their hand. And then they go and rub their eye, and then it gets absorbed into the wet membrane of the eye, and there you go. Well, you know, you should watch some videos of slow motion people sneezing, and you'll see how widespread that is. Yeah, it's no different than every other flu. blue variant from that standpoint. Yeah, that's why the whole 6 feet thing is BS and always was BS. But we won't get into that anymore. We'll move on to more fun things. We just had a chance to check out the 2 maps that dropped the last couple of days. We had Farming in the Hills. Was that one of them? Let me go look at the names. Over on the Mod Hub. Lost in the Mountains. That was one of them. And then we had, what was it? The Bavarian Farm. Lost in the Mountains and Bavarian Farm. 2 smaller sized maps. Bavarian Farm was huge on details. Look, there you go. That takes some aim right there. Oh, I've seen the previews ads for Beekeeper. I don't know what the premise is, but it kind of reminds me of the, there was a couple other movies that are like that. It's like don't piss off the wrong dad because he will come and he will ruin your life forever. So stay away from his kids. It's like you just bullied the wrong guy. And now you're going to find out what it really means to get destroyed. Like Beekeeper didn't make sense. Like what's Beekeeper got to do with it? I see my nice collection of bales. Okay. We'll put this later, way later. Oh, these belts and augers. There's nothing wrong with them. There we go. Toggled on the wrong thing. No, these are Giants delivered. AGI pack bins. The doors don't open. I don't think so. Oh, maybe they do. They just don't have the little floaty icon. Alright, we will park this later. Then we'll take this back. Yeah, they're not really intended to be driven over. I think technically you're supposed to move the input hopper underneath the trailer after the trailer is positioned, because the input hopper has collisions on it, right? If it was, I think, meant to be driven over, the input hopper wouldn't have collisions, so you could freely drive over it without hitting it. So for belly dump trailers, you just got to come in at it at the side. Yeah, Castle Nud. I think I remember liking that map. I don't know if it was in my short list when I was trying to figure out what map to play. It may have been. Yeah, is the Soaring Eagle the one that that is designed to be driven over? The little short belt? Oh, but we've got 140,000 liters of wheat in here. I wish we could see the fill. I wish we could open that door and like look in and see the wheat inside. So let's go ahead and reposition this for our corn. So we're going to run corn in the other one. There we go. Now we can close our lid. Seal that up. Off we go. Yeah, I think those, you know, grain leg bins are pretty costly. I don't think there is. I'm sure we could, I could move the camera in there, but I doubt we're going to see anything. $150 bales. Let's rock and roll. Yeah, I mean, I'm not hardcore realistic, but I do like to. I do like to run things the way I'm used to seeing, or the way I did it 30 some years ago. Well, it sounds like you planned badly, Delilah, because clearly when it snows, you shouldn't just stockpile bread and milk. Oh, that's cool, Mike. That's cool. Do they have like a little fill level window that you see going up? How does the player see that? Yeah, you've told me that before, Will, and there's times I feel like we revert from one version to the next, but there's definitely innovation there also. Are they on the main mod hub, Mike, or are they over at itch? Itch.io. They can't post links in chat. They'd be able to post links over in the Discord. So it was M9. It was like a corn crib. Was it cob corn or was it grained corn? Right, there's definitely been those corn cribs that are kind of a circular wire mesh cylinder with a grain bin top that you put cobs in. I mean, it'd have to be some pretty fine mesh, like window screen mesh for grained corn. Otherwise, it'd just fall right out. So, well, you should be able to find it by just searching Bueller's All the Giants Mod Hub, and then all his mods should pop up. Oh, so then it would be a corn dryer on the Mod Hub then. So over on the Mod Hub, we go to categories, silos. What order is this? Seriously, not in any order. It's terrible. So silos, page 4, BC Bueller. Oh, they look pretty good. 623. That's the link we were looking for. Oh, I had that Polish corn dryer add-on over on Carpathian countryside. A mini loader. I don't know if I've seen these mini loaders. This is like one you stand behind. It has a little bucket. I mean, I think if you got it like to clear off your walkways and entryways to the shop, you could probably business expense it, right? So I got to keep it safe for my patrons to come into the store. Just realized that field is wheat in it. I wonder how much that land costs to buy. Where are we even at? 200, nope, we don't have that money. Yeah, or inevitably the, like, I'll clear my drive, and then the plow will come through, and now suddenly there's this giant mound of junk I just put right in front of my driveway. Avery, good evening. Yeah, you know, forklifts really aren't intended for, most forklifts aren't intended for anything other than concrete, so. You don't want one of them sliding off the dock. Oh, that's bad news for everybody. I think you need a little pallet jack. That'll be fun. A little pallet buddy. Although, do we really want to make Tuki's job easier? I mean, if he already has time to mess around and buy things like mint flavored milk, and I think he could use for a little more work. Well, don't you know, Tuki, that delivery guys always come at lunch? That's how it works out for me. Delivery guys or contractors that you need to come in and do something, they always show up at lunch. So you're saying he was a little late? I'll typically get copier deliveries, copier pickup guy, and I'll be waiting on him all day, and he'll show up at like 11:45. And you gotta walk around with them because they don't know where anything is. Like, well, I guess I'll be taking lunch at like 1:30 today. I think there's some mods out there to make these screens work. I think you have to update the vehicle to work with them. Well, Tookie, aren't you supposed to clean up the mess you make? You're supposed to broom the trailer before you unload it. Hey, I tell my people, it's like, look, I don't care how busy you are, you need to take time for lunch. Even if you're just going to go sit in your car and listen to the radio for an hour. I was like, call it a mental health break. I don't know where Tookie works, but I don't want to go shopping there. BDD Gaming, what's up? Glad to have you here. We're doing good. We're just hanging out, baling up some straw. We're gonna sell the straw. We don't need it. Get a little extra moolah in our bank account. Cause I need to buy the. While we wait. How much is this place again? Yeah, baby. We now own a popcorn factory. Shoot. I forgot. People. I forgot we need to buy the corn dryer too. Oh, we don't have enough money for that. We'll have to wait a little bit on that. Well, thank you for dropping a like, checking us out. Like I said, we're just chilling out, having a conversation with some folks. We harvested our 2 wheat fields. Now we are baling it up. I think this will probably close out the evening with baling. At some point we need to turn this field over. And then we will probably need to get back on mowing grass. We gotta cut grass for a second cut of the year. We'll probably wrap it for silage. That'll net us some good money because I can sell all the silage bales I own now and keep the new ones. 4 to 6 weeks for a loader. Yeah. It's like I didn't know I needed that. I needed to know that 3 weeks ago. I can't have your forklift down for 3 weeks, right? We're gonna run out of net wrap. Buy another pound of that. That way we can stock that back up. We've talked about this, CFL. We've talked about this, and I made it very clear. I should have zeroed this out. I don't know how many bales we made now. How many horsepower is that loader? Those little mini loaders, are they rated for a are they rated for what type of lifting weight? I think I saw one of those at the farm show last year. I think it was like a modular system. There wasn't a lot of mods that got dropped today. I think there were some updates. Other than the DLCs that got some updates. But was there anything that stood out? Maybe not just today, maybe earlier this week that dropped. Kind of like both of those maps, like I said earlier. Bavarian Farm was really well done for being such a small map. Into the mountains, yeah. Yeah. I think that one had one farm, maybe two farms tied to it. Whereas the Bavarian one had 4 fairly detailed farms. I think the big downer to the Bavarian Farm map was was the limited customization on the farms. 3 of the 4 were pretty much permanently locked. Building wise, one of them you could sell most of the stuff. But the fact that it had most unique buildings, most were custom, uniquely built. One of the things at this point in Farm Sim 22's life cycle is that you get a little tired seeing the same buildings over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. You know, this time we had three Giants delivered maps, lots of building assets for map makers to pick from. But still, it can get old seeing the same stuff month after month, year after year. But not everybody has the ability to build buildings. But it is refreshing to have those newer buildings show up, the different designs. That's what I hope we get more of in this year, is kind of building packs, placeable building packs. You know, be the prefabs or placeable mod packs, because those are still available for mappers to put in, players to put in. Maybe now that the UK farm show is over, maybe we'll get maybe next week we'll get some news from Giants. Hard to say. Almost the entire way through the month. We're supposed to also have straw harvest. Here I am baling up all my straw. What if straw harvest drops tomorrow? What am I going to do? I just used it all up. The word on the street is straw harvest by the end of the month. We don't have too much long to go. The photos that I've seen, we've got our pellet haul, we have the pellet press, we've got the conveyor belt for square bales back in the pack. Back in the summer they teased us with a picture of 3 square bales side by side, so I think maybe that means we're definitely getting the bale accumulator and a large square baler. I don't know if the pack in 19 included the bale grab to pick up those 3 bales side by side. I know it definitely did in 17. In 17 we also had a pair of round balers. A bit clunky in some areas. What do you mean by clunky? Like not smooth playing? Like frame drops, or just getting in and out of areas didn't flow very well? 1, 2, 3, 3, and apart as far as passes. We only have about another 2 bales to go, then we'll run out of wrap. I mean, I noticed, but I didn't say anything, in at least one building where it felt like the parallax occlusion, not the parallax, the ambient occlusion was kicking in even with the door open, as if the door opening wasn't quite coded right and the game was thinking the door was shut, so it was causing the game not to properly render things outside. Yeah, that's the occlusion. That's a feature of 22. So it'd be like the glass was not, the windows on the doors weren't properly set up to be transparent. So even though you were looking at a clear window, the game engine didn't think you were looking at something that was clear. And therefore it was like here, I'll show you. Right? Force that to happen. Maybe I can force it. Oh, there we go. Our greenhouses, right? Like that's a feature. That's a feature of FS22. That's why really disabling camera collision hasn't been a in previous versions of FS22 there was a disable camera collisions mod that would let you turn camera collisions off. Well, I feel like Giants didn't deliver one this time because of course they're working with this. And how do you explain that to someone that doesn't understand what's going on? Like, that's by design. Because in theory, nothing behind me is being rendered when I'm looking forward. Right? As soon as this car is out of view, well, I can't pass it, but in theory, if I pass that car, the game would stop rendering that car until I turned around and saw it again. Whereas in previous versions of the game, everything would be rendered in a 360-degree circle around you, regardless if it was obscured or not. Like that water tower that's over there. Right now, it doesn't exist. It's not being rendered by the graphics engine, but it is now. You know, those buildings that are over there, they're not being rendered right now because they're not visible. But now they are. All right, let's go fill up our baler. Yeah, I saw the outside flash on one building, and I just let it go. That is an effort to definitely reduce load on the GPU, so you can focus on rendering the things you can see in better details. Yes. Like all these bales, right? They're being rendered now. Now they're not. Other than, obviously, what's in the mirror. Make them show up in the mirror, they'll render, but... Yeah, there were mods in previous games that would put like a trigger around a building and would cause things within a building to not be rendered unless the doors were open. All that's built in now to the game. Let's see if this... I mean, that's my theory, why they never added it. I feel like at one point they came back and said that they couldn't get it to work the way they wanted it to work. But I have disabled camera collision because it was a feature of the additional game settings mod. Might be on the wrong side of the baler. Why are you not wanting to do this? Come on. But yeah, if you ever see things vanish, that is a... Alright, this is not cool. What the heck is that? Oh. Oh, look at that. Boys and girls. See if that helps. I mean, I think that's why lots of people ask for dynamic ground, right? Kind of like what Terraform does on PC. And Giants has come back before and said that they couldn't get it to work the way they liked it, or the way they wanted it to work. So they're not going to implement something until they get it working the way they would like to have it work. And I have speculated that what they couldn't get working was dynamic ground working in such a way that players still had access to, and now it loads, still had access to create fields. That in games, in agriculture, even farming games, in agriculture games like cattle and crops, it had mud in the fields. It had like ruts, like as you drove your your tractor through a field, a cultivated field, a plowed field, you would get some tire ruts and such. If you drove on a field after it rained and it was too wet, you would have mud popping up. But in cattle and crops' case, that only happened if you were in a field. And as soon as you were out of the field, the ground was hard as a rock. And that game did not allow you to make any changes to field shape, didn't allow you to add fields, create new fields. And I feel like the way Giants was going through trying to add dynamic ground in the past may have been preventing them to keeping the ability to create fields and make fields dynamic. And if you can't create a field, the wilderness maps like No Man's Land are no more. Being able to merge fields together become no more, right? The map suddenly becomes very static. It is how it was delivered, and I hope you like it that way. And I don't think anyone wants to lose that creativity, that flexibility. Even to gain something like the dynamic ground concept. That's my speculation. I don't know if that's indeed a fact. Who knows? Maybe whatever the next farm sim is will have that, and they've figured it out, or somehow implemented a feature or functionality similar to Terraform. I think it would be, yeah. Because we lose that sandbox creativity. Now, I'm not one to often change out fields. I do know players that have taken this tree line out between these two fields and merged them together. I know people that have, taken this grass here and like plowed it up to make this one field as opposed to having this drainage area. So having that flexibility, I think, is important. New features, I'd say the big one that I've talked about recently has been to take the roller coaster construction concept, the boat building, the piano making concept from Zilanka, and extending it and enhancing it to placeable structures. So what I mean is, I want to be able to place a foundation on my farm. I want to be able to deliver logs. I want to be able to deliver planks, maybe shingles, metal rolls to that foundation. Then as I deliver product, I want a building to be constructed over time. And then when that building is built, I'm able to use that building as a functional part of my farm. From a standpoint of like a No Man's Land, Western Wilds type gameplay, to be able to place for fairly cheap a home foundation, and to build a log cabin by delivering logs, and then be able to maybe deliver kind of a rustic chicken coop by delivering logs, would allow the player to literally build their farm from the ground up. And I'd love to see dynamic animal pens that we can place. I'll show you what I mean by that here in a minute. So right now, in game, like, we can put this cow pasture down, right? But we won't get any manure unless we put that down beside it. And it can only be so far away before it won't work, right? Or we could put one of these down close, and we would increase our slurry capacity of the animal pen. Okay? But what I want to be able to do is, instead of putting this down, or instead of putting this down, where we already have a fenced out area, I want to be able to take something like a fence. I want to be able to draw, 1, 2, 3. I want to be able to draw whatever shape I want. And then when I connect all the lines together, boom, that's my animal nav mesh. That's where the animals will walk. Then I want to be able to take, let's say, let's imagine this is a water trough. I want to be able to say, well, I want my cow's water trough to be located I want it to be located right here. And then let's say this is the food trough. I want that to be located right here. Right? And as long as I click it within the nav mesh, let's say, it can be there. And then we can have completely customizable, completely unique animal areas as a result. So it's just further refining what we kind of have but don't fully have. Like in 19, if I wanted to put a fence down, I would get like if I wanted to put a fence down, right, I would get like a piece of fence this long, and I would place it. Then I would place another piece of fence this long right beside it, and another piece of fence right beside it. And it was just so monotonous of placing fence. Section after section after section after section. Well, they further refined that in 22 so that you basically draw a line and the fence dynamically is made. It used to be literally everything you placed showed up in your shop as far as owned things. So if you placed 100 bushes, when you went to your vehicle menu, right, when you were basically in this screen, only the FS19 version, you would see just bush after bush after bush after bush after bush. Or fence segment after fence segment after fence segment. Well, they've completely redefined and rebuilt the build mode, the placeable mode, and the menus, such that it's actually usable in any large scale. Right? So I feel that expanding and refining things that were introduced in 19 or introduced in 22 would be good to see. Oh, then I would never have any animals in my pens. M9, because right at the farm now, I've got the gates open. Honestly, I think in yeah, this is my last bale. I think honestly in cattle and crops, you could have animals get out of the pens if you left the gates open. They had a lot of cool, interesting ideas. I think what happened is maybe their ideas of what they wanted to implement was maybe a little bit above and beyond what the team was capable of actually implementing in their very first initial release. And therefore it just took them so long to get to a release that really still wasn't everything they wanted to put in version 1.0 that they ultimately ran out of money. Yeah, they would have, they'd have to be redesigned how they are versus how they are now. Well, folks, that's gonna do me for the night. I wanted to sell the bales, but it is 10:15 my time. I've got to go to the office tomorrow. Probably. I don't know. We got weather coming. I know my kid's school's already 2 hours delayed, but still, I got to make sure he gets in bed. And I got a couple things I got to get done before I head to hay. Tomorrow night, we will be over on the Funhouse channel, FK's Funhouse. Just do exclamation point FK Funhouse in chat. That should give you a link. We're going to be doing Wreckfest. That was quite the popular title last Friday, so we're going to be doing that again this Friday. Anybody that wants to join us with Wreckfest, right now all you have to do is have the base game, and you can join us. Just be a part of the Discord and join the Wreckfest channel where all the information about the server is listed. Until next time, happy farming.